Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Beem and Dean Show, episode 85 with the sports director of KC24 and CBS 47, Scott Bemis. I am Dean Sherrill. Welcome aboard. Scotty, just like everyone predicted before the season started, we've got Seahawks versus Patriots in the Super Bowl.
We sure do. We sure do. Maybe the Seahawks. Some people might have been on the Seahawks, maybe thinking that, they could, have kind of a breakout year in a way. I don't know if people thought that they were going to get to the Super Bowl, but the Patriots for sure. I mean, it shows kind of the beauty of the NFL, Dean, that, from year to year, you never know. So if you're a fan base, we've got a huge Patriots fan in the building, Ben Morris, right? And if you asked him probably last year, hey, do you think your team's going to be in the Super Bowl this year? I guarantee you he would have said no way, that he was just hoping probably to finish over 500. And here they are. They're in the Super Bowl. Yeah,
it's crazy, Scotty. It was both games were really good. We're going to talk about it a little bit more when we get to coming in hot. I want to mention a couple other topics really quick. So college football playoffs staying at 12. The commissioners could not come to a new agreement, whether it was 16 or 24. So we're going to stay at 12, at least for another year, and we'll go from there. So I know that was something that you kind of enjoyed. So your thoughts really quick on that?
Well, I'm just... I have no issue if we go to 16. Like, if we want to go to 16, 24 is too many, in my opinion, at least right now. Let's play it out for a decade or so. Let's see how it works with 12, maybe 14, 16. But to go from 12 suddenly to 24, to me, that's way too big a leap. And you don't need that right now. And I'm actually kind of thankful for the SEC. This is one of the few times I'm thankful for the SEC. A lot of SEC hate out there, and occasionally I get sucked up into it as well. But that they're in that room and that they're kind of, in my opinion, thinking a little bit more rationally and kind of holding off the Big Ten, who apparently wants to go to 24, wants guarantees that we'll eventually get to 24.
But I think the Big Ten is not the only other conference that wants this as well. The Big 12 and I believe the ACC are kind of all on board. I don't even know how the group of six kind of feel about it, but that's kind of where we're at right now there. So but we're going to stay at 12. We're going to stay with campus sites, and hopefully it's exciting again, and we have another Indiana kind of story next year. We'll see. So,
well, all four power conference champions now get automatic bids too. So Duke would have been in the playoff, right? This
Which
year.
Would have been wild.
Miami would not have been in the playoff this year. Keep that in mind if the little tweaks that they've put into place now for next year. Dean, I just don't know what the problem is with just kind of taking a step back, being patient. Like, there wasn't some huge controversy, in my opinion, this year. Like, I had no problem with Notre Dame getting left out. Were they could they have maybe won the national title? Yes. Did they deserve to be in the playoff? In my opinion, no, at least compared to Miami in that sense. I have kind of outlined it before as far as like the argument between Alabama and Notre Dame there getting into the playoff. There's a good argument on both sides. So I don't think that it's like there's some outcry as far as the playoff goes,
sure.
Right? So why are we like constantly trying to make changes to it right now? I mean, let's do maybe every 5 years we sit down and kind of figure out, hey, should we make changes, right? Like, I don't know, it just feels like they're being way too reactionary to it right now.
I agree with you. I mean, if we would have said like 15 years ago, hey, we might get a 12-team playoff someday, I would have been doing cartwheels.
Absolutely,
So the fact that we're here compared to just the BCS with 2 teams or the 4-team playoff, I'm ecstatic. Of course, you always want to see more. I always want to see more games on TV and stuff. But I don't know if you saw now, the championship game next year will be on January 25th, 2027.
That's too late. That's too late. They got to figure something out with regards to
that. Let's do it March 1st, and then we'll go right into March Madness, right?
Wait a minute. The Sunday between the Final Four and the NCAA championship game, we're gonna have the college football national championship game.
We'll do it on the Saturday, and then we'll have Selection Sunday. How about that? Or we'll have a tournament. I'm just being facetious,
sure.
But it's getting to that point now where it's getting crazy.
It's getting a little ridiculous.
It's getting a little ridiculous there. So, all right. With that being said, let us come in hot. All right, Scotty, we had 2 really, really good playoff games yesterday to decide the conferences. We'll start in Denver. So the Patriots end up winning that game 10-7. That game really changed on a dime, and what I mean by that is the weather. I mean, seriously, it went from a green field, beautiful day, chilly in Denver to blustery and then blizzard conditions within one quarter of play. From the 8-minute mark of the third quarter to the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter, we had those time-lapse photography. The field, you could not see the numbers anymore. Even the Jim Nantz on the broadcast was like, I don't even know what yard marker this is. So, I think it's the 37. So your thoughts, Scott?
it was a fun watch, right? As far as watching that play out and in how the snow kind of enveloped the field. And it's one of the things I think we kind of love about football is that the elements can play such a big role in the outcome. On a fairness level, I don't always know if it's the fairest thing that weather plays such a big role in the outcome of these games sometimes. But from an entertainment value, absolutely. I'm all in for snow games and, the changing weather conditions and everything else. And, we were talking about it. I don't know who knew exactly what with regards to the weather. Like, did Sean Payton, did the Broncos coaching staff know that it was going to turn that ugly, right, in the second half? Because if they did, I think Sean would have seriously reconsidered, going for it on 4th and 1 early in that game, if knowing that points were going to be at such a premium at that point, and that, a field goal could be huge. I know we have some thoughts on that 4th and 1, incoming and hot take, hot topic, whatever. I didn't like the decision as it was happening. Sean Payton going for it on 4th and 1 early in that game when the weather conditions were still good. They were up 7-0. It was the second quarter. To that point, I think the Patriots had gained a grand total of 12 yards offensively or something like that. So your Bronco defense is dominating that game. And so to me, with a backup quarterback like Jarrett Stidham, you had a feeling that, he was gonna slow down. He came out hot. I'll give Sean Payton credit for kind of opening up the playbook early on with Stidham and getting the lead. But that's a game where you're gonna want to play in front, especially if you knew. Again, I don't know if Sean Payton was asked about it, if he knew the weather was gonna get that bad, before the game.
Right.
But if you know the weather's coming like that, you take the points in that situation. And
Absolutely.
to be honest, even if the weather wasn't coming, just with Jarrett Stidham in there and the way your defense was playing, I would have taken the points. I heard Sean Payton say later, with the way my defense was playing, I thought I could go for it. I don't understand that argument there, because if you think your defense is playing great, isn't a 2-score lead super valuable in that situation?
Yeah.
Isn't going up 10 very valuable? He kind of used the argument as a rationale for going for it in that situation. I don't understand. Now, usually during the regular season, 4th and 1, at the 15-yard line or whatever it is, that's an automatic go, normally. But again, you gotta kind of understand the feel of the game. And to me, I was watching that game and I was saying, okay, this is setting up to be a low-scoring grinder,
right. And
I don't know if Jarrett Stidham's going to be able to keep this up. And you want him playing with a lead, because then those mistakes that kind of happen, he doesn't feel pressure to force things. He's more likely to throw it away. Punts aren't the worst thing in the world. But unfortunately, that play kind of changed the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just, when you're the home team, you're Denver, you have your meteorologist kind of on site. You got to kind of I know you can't predict exactly where the weather is going to be, but come on, you got to have a pretty good idea that it's going to get blustery in the second half. And they just really gambled and they lost on that one. They were kicking field goals and blizzards after that. They tried their best, but it got really, really bad out there. Even the kicker for New England missed one too. It started perfect and it tailed off, because obviously there's a lot of wind and stuff going on there as well. So,
the analytics are always going to say probably to go for it there, the analytical guys. But sometimes you got to go against analytics. You got to kind of have a feel for things. And it's like, hey, this is playoff football. This is a championship game. Drake May is feeling it a little bit right now too. He's being dominated by this defense. And if he's down 10 points, the odds of him making a big mistake go up dramatically. In the end, Drake May didn't have to do much. He used his legs. Partly because they were always within one score. They got that big turnover that got them back in the game. It was tied up. Then they were playing from in front. And so Drake May, you saw it even in the backfield, right? That one time where there was a miscommunication or the running back slipped. He didn't try to make a play. He just knows, I'm just going to go down to the ground here, cover up with the football right now, because I don't necessarily need to make a play right now.
Right.
And that's why that 3 points right there would have been so valuable if the Broncos could have continued to play from in front in that game. It would have forced Drake May to have to make some plays. And maybe he does in the end, Dean, if he's forced to, but I would have loved to have seen him have to try.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, it was a great game. Very interesting conditions, obviously. You never want to really play a game in those conditions, but it is what it is. And the Patriots now move on to San Francisco. Who are they playing? They're playing the Seattle Seahawks, who, disposed of my Rams. Sadly, I'm still in mourning. But I'm going to say, again, bad coaching decisions, factored in. I love McVay. I love Sean McVay as our coach, but he made a few really bad blunders. The first one really was at the end of the first half. 2 minutes left. I don't even think the Seahawks were really going to use their timeouts. I think they were going to get to, maybe they would have, maybe they wouldn't have. But we decided to go for the jugular there, have to punt the ball back. Seattle goes down the field in like 7 plays and 43 seconds or something. So all of a sudden they have the lead at the half as opposed to us being at Lumen Field with another lead at halftime. So what are your thoughts really quick on that, Scotty?
I can't really speak to that too much. I'd have to go look at the box score, see how it played out at the end of the half. Was busy kind of putting together Bulldog Insider at that time. I know that Sean McVay is getting a ton of heat for the decision, or at least there's been some second guessing going on about the decision to go for it late. I had no problem with that decision whatsoever. The 4th and 4 late to go for it. To me, that was an automatic go in that situation. And if you look at it, the Seahawks then basically ran out the clock, right? I mean, okay, so you're going to take a field goal in that situation and go from 4 down to 1 down with 4.5 minutes to go with a Seattle offense going up against a Rams defense that had pretty much kind of been moving at will, against the Rams at different points in that game.
Right.
I mean, I think in the end, what cost the Rams in this game, I don't think it was coaching decisions, personally. To me, it's a muff punt is what ends up costing you in this game.
No, that was a big factor, too.
It's a shootout, right? And it's going back and forth. And if you give away a possession and basically hand 7 points to the other team, then that's what ultimately will decide the game. I thought the 4th and 4 call at the end was the right call.
I agree.
By Sean Payton.
Yeah, no, but
Sean McVay.
Yeah, no, with Sean McVay, I agree. That was the right call because, the defense was so bad that there was
So what are you saying at the end of the half? That they should have, tried to run out the clock?
No, they should have ran the ball and tried to get the first down, run some clock. Even Tom Brady said, until you get to the 50-yard line, you want to try to burn as much time as possible to not leave as much time for Seattle. So we basically ran the ball on first down for, I think, 6 yards.
Okay.
And then we threw it twice.
Okay.
And so that stopped the clock. Without them even using a timeout, they had 3. And so we gave them the ball back, I believe, with like about a minute and 3 timeouts, and they didn't even need that much. So, listen, that Seattle team's very, very good. I'm not taking anything away. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I just really like if Sam Darnold plays that way, mistake-free football, honestly, no turnovers, 300, almost 340, I think, passing. Yeah. He was just lights on all day. And like I said, that reminded me of USC Sam Darnold. So
we said going into that game, right, that if Sam Darnold plays really well, I think the Seahawks have a great chance. I personally thought that I had a little more confidence in Matthew Stafford getting the job done in that situation. I think what I kind of overlooked a little bit was that Rams secondary has been kind of a sieve, here for a while now.
Sure.
And those corners are having a tough time. And when you have a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, with his quick reflexes and just these, quick twitch and all that stuff, he's just a tough guy to handle. And the Seahawks didn't turn it over, right?
No, they didn't.
They didn't turn it over.
They did not turn it over.
And that was kind of what the difference was during the regular season games, right? And yeah, if the Seahawks don't turn it over, they're going to be tough to beat. So early read on the Super Bowl then for you is what?
4.5 right now, I think, is the number out there. Early read is what Drake May are we going to get, right? Because they have not. I saw a stat. I believe that they're the team that made the Super Bowl. They're the team that made the Super Bowl that had the lowest points scored in the playoffs. Now, again, they had. And they did not have a bye. They played all 4 games. I think they scored 54 points for the entire length of the playoffs or something like that. So.
Who are you talking about?
The Patriots.
Patriots. Yeah. I was sending you a text saying, is this maybe the worst offensive performance in the playoffs for a team that's made the Super Bowl that we've ever seen?
You did. Yeah, you did. And I think you're right.
I'd have to look at it. But it's kind of funny that the Patriots are in the Super Bowl because, during the regular season it was all about what? Drake May, that offense, he's the MVP candidate, all this stuff.
Sure.
And suddenly in the playoffs, he has not played well. Let's be perfectly honest. Made some plays when he needed to at the end of the Bronco game. He's made some plays, at certain times. I don't want to totally discount that.
Sure.
But it's their defense and turnovers that have carried the day for the Patriots in the playoffs. And, they've kind of skated their way into the Super Bowl, which always gives me a little pause about, in the Super Bowl, is that luck sort of going to run out in a way? And, we'll see. Maybe they go in there with a, what do we got to lose kind of mentality. Seattle's going to be the favorite.
Right.
Patriots are back in that underdog role. I mentioned to you that the Patriots being the favorite at Denver, that was a role that they weren't used to being. And I think we saw early.
Yeah.
that was the case, that they were a little uncomfortable in that role, and the Broncos came right out and punched him in the mouth.
They had a chance to, I think, blow him out right away, and it got away. That turnover that Denver had, late in the half, the lateral that turned out to be, that was an interesting call too, because they called it dead on the field, but they returned that for a touchdown. They ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive, but that lateral Stidham made that big mistake there, so they
those are the killers, and that's kind of
short field.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. Right. Is that is the play you have to avoid, and so I don't mean to keep coming back to it, right? Because Sean Payton made there were a lot of things that he did well in this game, right? Again, like I said, coming out, the game plan for Stidham was working early, this and that, and I'm not putting it all on him, but that decision there in the first half, when you have the lead and you can go up 10 and the weather is still good, suddenly those type of plays where Stidham's now suddenly trying to make a play in the back, maybe he still does it, right? Even if you're up 10-0. I can't say that. But my thought would be is now that you have the 10-0 lead, you can really kind of buckle it down, tighten the chin straps on Stidham and say hey, look, we want to pick up first downs. We want to keep moving the ball. We want to play a field position game here. If the scoreboard changes a little bit and it suddenly gets a little tighter, okay, maybe we open it up again. But at 10-0, you can kind of reinforce taking care of the ball and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But now it's 7-0. You're in your own territory, right? And now he's trying to make a play, and it just gets a little bit more. You feel a little more game pressure in those moments, and so. But anyways, that play was a killer. The muff punt was a killer. I mean, I mentioned to you. I'm at the point, unless in a big game, unless you have a punt returner who can take it to the house, Shaheed, something like that. Yep. I would even put a Remigio, is a guy who can bust one. It seems
for the Chiefs.
But if you just got a guy who's back there basically to make fair catches,
falling down and dropping the ball, you mean? Is that what you're trying to say?
Why even attempt to catch the punt anymore?
Yeah,
there are one huge thing that can go wrong. And it's very unlikely that something really good is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could say there is possibly to preserve some field position.
Sure, I mean, I get that.
That's the only thing. Yeah. But in terms of a return, I get it. Why, unless you have a sure-handed guy back there, and he had already dropped one to start. I don't know if you saw that. He dropped one but got it back. This was the second time that happened. So,
well, the other thing I would argue is that the Rams' offense is pretty explosive. So 10, 15 yards of field position for them isn't going to be as big a deal against, in the Broncos-Patriots game at the end of the game, where 10, 15 yards of field position was suddenly a huge deal because just picking up a first down was vitally critical, right? Or difficult, to even get into field goal range. And so in the Rams game, I don't know. It's almost hey, I almost don't see the point of fielding punts sometimes, in critical situations, unless you have a game breaker as a returner.
Yeah, totally get it. So, like I said, we have plenty of time to talk about this game. We got 2 weeks. Like I said, the line right now is roughly around 4.5 in favor of the Seahawks. They're their favorite. So we'll see what kind of happens there. Let's talk about one more thing before we get to our money plays today. So you were at the Save Mart Center on Saturday for the Dogs game. Yeah. I've got a shot here. I'll show it. I like to call it the green wave. So here's our green wave. Look at that. So there's your green wave. So I don't have the video clip you sent me, but I mean,
I should have sent you a picture too. I now that I've seeing it here popped up of the Save Mart Center, and it was for the Save Mart Center, what we've come to expect in recent years, unfortunately, where it's been very not well attended at all. It was a pretty good crowd on hand on Saturday for the game against Grand Canyon. Yeah. Grand Canyon, a team that's been in the NCAA tournament coming out of the WAC in recent years. They've got some real athletes on that team. Yeah. There was a dunk in that game that was by this Grand Canyon guy that was a top 5 play Sports Center wise, where he elevated and threw down over the Bulldog 7-footer. Yeah. But I want to give a shout out to these guys, the Green V, as they're kind of they're trying to get a little movement going, and I want to help them, right? Because their message is that, hey, let's not complain about the performance on the field or the coach or this or that. Let's just make sure our performance as a fan base is top notch. Right? Yeah. Let's just not sit here complaining about whatever's going on. Good coaches are going to come and go. Bad coaches are going to come and go. All that stuff. It's cyclical sometimes with how your programs are performing. But as a fan base, we can control what we bring to the table. And these guys, They were standing up the whole game.
Cool.
They were getting, defense chants going. They had the Fresno State on one side to, Fresno State going back and forth. And, it really created a little bit of a fun environment in there. And the Dogs got back and took a lead in the second half for a period of time. And I think they had something to do with it. I really do. And they're small in numbers right now, as you can see, but they're on social media. Look them up, Green V on X or Instagram, and, get involved. Get involved with these guys because it's fun. What they're talking about doing, I think, could be such a huge part of Fresno State athletics going forward, creating something that is uniquely Fresno, and you're kind of building off the Green V of the Pat Hill and everything.
Sure.
I know everybody thinks of red with Fresno State, right? But the Green V is also something that nationally everybody thinks of, and it's agriculture, it's green, that's cool. And so I don't know, I just wanted to give them a shout out because they're trying to kind of start a little bit of a movement, and as you can see, it's not students; these are like alumni or
cool.
Bulldog fans, and so it's just this is how things start, how magic starts. Like this is like the cradle of something cool happening, in my opinion. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to these guys for what they're doing and what they're trying to bring to the table, and they're helping the environment at the Save Mart Center.
I love it. Yeah. So Grand Canyon always has a great program. There's a guy from my old high school, Dusty Stromer, who transferred there from Gonzaga. So really, really good player. So, I mean, Grand Canyon, is Bryce Drew still the coach there?
He is.
Yeah, so Bryce Drew from NCAA tournament fame from the late 90s for Valpo.
And Grand Canyon is a great example of what can happen when a community gets engaged with athletics, right? Like around a school or a program.
Sure.
Because I don't know if you've ever heard, about it, obviously, but like people out there, they have one of the most electric home environments of anybody in the country.
Yeah.
They have a student section, right? That's like, what are they known as, like the Fanatics or something like that?
Yeah, well, I know they're the Lopes. That's their nickname, but I don't know if there's a special name or not.
They do have
a
special name, and they get crazy, and they get dressed up, and it's all this cool stuff. And they've been to the NCAA tournament. They've built something there, this small school in Phoenix, right? Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And now they're in the Mountain West.
Right, which is great.
And they're on their way, and, it's just, these are the kind of things that I think people need to really kind of wrap their arms around and embrace.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I want to apologize. We're having some technical issues today. You'll see the cameras are going in and out. We're still working on that. We got
extreme close-up.
We got extreme close-up of Scott Bemis right now because we've got some tracking going on. We're going to try to work on that. We apologize, but we're just going to go right into the money plays today. We're not going to do the animation. We're just going to kind of go in. So this was my Thursday basically. I still got the 3 pending on the Australian Open. I only hit one of the college basketball parlays. Still over 1,000, 1,044.94 so far. And for Scotty, let's find his. All right, Scotty went 2 for 4. He lost a little bit of money just because of the dollar differential, but he did hit the Australian Open 2-match play. And then you hit the 6. You really didn't even need that many points on your teasers, but you got them. So on your NFL. So go ahead, I'll let you take your lap.
I'm looking at it here. I'm down. Again, we each start with $1,000 each month of fictitious money. It's a month-long contest between Dean and myself. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to get a little aggressive here, poker style. I'm not going all in, but I am gonna be getting a little more aggressive here with my plays today.
$127 rough dollars.
But the cool thing here is that we are both in the positive for the month. We're both over $1,000, right?
So that doesn't happen very often, folks, but we're excited this month.
Don't tell them that. It happens every month.
Oh, it happens every month. Yeah. No, we're honest on this show. So
I'll tell you the Tiafo thing there, and I'm going to have a play here coming up. You're going to see. I ended up watching, about a set and a half of that match against De Minaur.
I saw the third set.
It was a very high level match, right?
It was wasn't it 6-4, 6-4, 7-5?
7-5. Tiafo got a break, got back into it in the third, and I thought, maybe I got a chance of sneaking this one out here. But I was really impressed with De Minaur in that match.
Well, he's still in there. And so we have another play. Let's take a look. Here they are.
All right, here we go. My plays today, Dean. I'm going back to the well. It's been working for me. My, the teaser king of Fresno,
Scott Bemis.
College basketball 5-point teaser here. All right, Louisville. Okay. We're going to bump them up from 8.5 to 13.5 at Duke. You're going, what are you doing? You're taking Louisville at Duke? Okay, here's what's happened with Louisville. Louisville out of the blocks was one of the best teams in the country.
They are.
5-star recruit named Michael Brown Jr., their point guard. He got hurt for about a month and a half. They've still been good, but not great.
Okay.
He came back on Saturday, and they played Virginia Tech, and this is what stood out to me. Virginia Tech hit 16 threes in the game at Louisville. Okay, team hits 16 of 30 from three, right? An ACC team, you figure this game's going down to the wire. They're going to maybe have a chance to pull the upset.
Sure.
No, Louisville still beat them by 14. And that's how good Louisville is with Michael Brown, right? Mm-hmm. He's a five-star guy. He's back. They're going to Duke. Duke got him earlier this year, right, at Louisville, so a little revenge factor in play there as well. Do I love 8.5? I actually do like 8.5, but I like it. If I get up to 13.5, I love it there. So I'm going to take 13.5 there. Okay. And then Virginia in a bounce back spot after letting a big lead get away against North Carolina over the weekend. Against a Notre Dame team that's missing their best players, been out for like a month and a half. They just haven't been the same team. They're on a losing streak. Basically, I think if Virginia wins the game there, bumping it down to -3.5, there's a good chance we cover. So that's my college basketball play. And I'm bumping up the total, Dean, because I got to get aggressive. I got to try to edge my nose in front of you. So I'm going 130 to 100 there.
I saw you edging them up.
And then here's what I'm doing. As I said, maybe I'm prisoner of the moment. Maybe I shouldn't have watched that Alex DeMinor match because suddenly when he goes up against Alcaraz, he's never beaten Alcaraz. He has gotten a couple sets off him in five previous matches. But home crowd, DeMinor is Australian. It's going to be on Rod Laver Arena. It's going to be at night.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be tons of juice over this. So here's my thought. He gets a set. More than likely we win that.
We'll go over 35
over
and a half.
35 and a half, right?
Pretty much.
And so that's what I'm thinking there. I think DeMinor will be able to scratch out a set. Now, here's the thing. I'm also going to take a flyer on DeMinor to possibly knock off Carlos Alcaraz. You're getting almost 4-1 on your money there.
Look at that.
Now, much smaller bet here because, again, Carlos Alcaraz is an incredible player.
Yeah.
But these are very similar players, DeMinor and Alcaraz, right? And so I get the feeling that if DeMinor can get in front, he's a defensive player. He stays in rallies. He moves all over the court. He's crazy fast. They call him the demon, the speed demon.
Sure.
And so I think if he gets his nose in front, 4-1, I kind of like in his home country on Rod Laver Arena.
All right. Well, here's mine. I didn't go as crazy as Scotty did, but in terms of the numbers, but I got a bunch of plays. The three pendings you see at the bottom, we talked about those on the last show. Nothing's changed there. Got a $10 NBA. Give me the Hawks, the Hornets, and the Cavs. Three favorites tonight in the NBA.
I think that Hawks game's already going on, by the way.
Yeah, actually, I think it was a day game, so
you keep going. I'm going to check.
Okay, I might have lost already. And then I got a $10 NBA parlay tonight. Rockets -6.5.
You're 1 for 1.
Okay.
They won by 16. They were down at half, though. Yeah.
I know. I saw that. I didn't even realize that was a day game. And then I got Rockets -6.5, Celtics -7.5, and the Wolves -4.5 in a makeup game that was supposed to be yesterday.
Hornets up 18 second quarter, too.
All right, there you go. All right, 2 for 2. I'm going to go on the Duke route this time, -8.5 against Louisville. And I'll tell you the reason why. They already played at Louisville, and Duke beat them by 10. So I looked at that number. Now this game's at Cameron Indoor. It's the rematch game. We'll see what happens. Here's the game I'm really looking forward to. This is tonight, everybody. We got Arizona, #1 Arizona, traveling to Provo at the Hilton Center to play BYU. BYU is a 1.5 point favorite. I bumped it up to 3.5 in honor of my friend Scott. I did not do. It's kind of a teaser, but I kind of took less money on it, so it's -157 as opposed to -110. 25 to win 15 there. I think BYU gets it done, but I covered myself a little bit. Got an NHL. Give me Bruins money line, Lightning money line, Oilers money line, and then tomorrow night in Ann Arbor, Michigan, we got the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This hurts my heart to do this because I'm a Colorado Buffalo true and true, but Nebraska is very, very good this year in basketball. Fred Hoiberg's doing a great job in Lincoln. They're getting 10.5 at Michigan. All right, my friend Alex Macias is probably going to hit me over the head, but honestly, 10.5, Nebraska, the 5th rated team in the country. Come on, I'm going to take it. So we're going to try to get these cameras all fixed by next week. Scotty, any last thoughts before we got to go?
Hey, speaking of college basketball, tune into some college basketball. There's tons of outstanding freshmen. There was an Illinois freshman over the weekend, had one of the best performances I've ever seen in a win at Purdue. Okay. There's some great college basketball going on now that we're transitioning out of football.
Yep.
Give it a watch.
All right, we'll be back on Thursday. We'll get all this fixed. This has been the Beem and Dean Show with Extreme Scott and Extreme Dean.